Hi, welcome. On this next series of videos, I'm going to be responding by way, once again, of from David, Miracle Canine, a very interesting video he just put up, title of called One Dog Training System to Rule Them All, talking about more drama, all the drama in the dog training world. Again, from the perspective of a balanced dog training, by way of, again, David's a balanced dog trainer. And so I'm going to be using this as a kind of as a framework, again, to continue to talk through these issues and some of the stuff that comes up. I mean, it's just like a soap opera, really. Just all this back and forth and all the players involved. And so for anyone who's interested in sorting through this, understanding this from a perspective in which, again, I talk about, the source of the problem. I talk about this issue with dogs as social animals. I talk about appearances, which get people into trouble. All that, sorting through that, again, from the perspective of, what defines a process. And I keep putting out videos talking about it. And my hope is that more people start to get it. The controversies are an opportunity to step back and ask questions. Now, get back at it here again. Last week was a hard week for me. I mean, I started doing a fast here a couple weeks ago, which I'll do every, a couple times a year, just the way to kind of reset the clock, so to speak, a little bit. Fasting for me is, it's got lots of benefits. But then after the fast, I got a severe case of food poisoning. And so I was like, and just prior to that, okay, this is how things kind of all cycle through. We got to have a little workout room at my house. We've got one of those kind of all-in-one, workout systems with the weights already there. Great, has all the different things with the bench press and the pull down bar, and has all that stuff attached to it. Now, years ago, I mean, back when I was like, just prior to the police academy, I had a, herniated disc. I blew my back out from doing the rows. This is way back. Fortunate for me, a disc went back into place. It healed. Kind of, I've had issues since then. Every once in a while, it kind of reminds me it's kind of a weak area. So I haven't had problems with my back for like a long time. But still, doing my workout, but nothing. But here's me getting on this new weight machine, thinking I'm like, 22 years old again, and starting to push, new, exercise I haven't done in a long time. And when you know it, I blew my back out. So I blew my back out. And then right after that, feeling my back is starting to heal up, just kind of knowing your body, taking it easy, and then get a really bad case of food poisoning on top of that, and like just like on the floor, sick, just vomiting and just everything is really severe, and it goes away quick. It's just like severe, and then just what it is. And so that what did they do? It aggravated my back more. And so now I got sciatica happening. Okay, so I'm just like taking it easy, just knowing your body, But I will say that it's been a challenging few days as I'm just, trying to just heal up and just doing a lot of just clean eating. So anyone who's experienced, issues like that probably understands, especially if you have back issues. It's all about knowing your body, but so I'm just really trying to take it easy. So here, okay, that's a little update on me. So again, seeing this video pop up now, I haven't pre-watched this video, but the title of it and just the first minute I watched, he's going to talk about the drama going on here. But so this is like the first time I'm watching it. But again, I want to use it as a framework, continue to talk through, the issues happening in the dog training world. But I encourage it if you're want to know more about this system of training, all the controversies. And here's the thing: I went on David's podcast a while back, and had a discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it. David again was very gracious, with how he was great in terms of just a level of just respect. I mean, he didn't come off like I talked about, other trainers, how they come off, and the reason I won't even engage or have a discussion with some trainers, because it's just a lack of just how divisive and how angry people get. It's about information, okay, talking through. So, yeah, he was gracious enough to be able to talk through, all the controversies, be able to, it was a fairly, I thought, a good discussion. But now here's the thing: you're seeing all these controversies happening. And here's the thing I appreciate with David: he doesn't, even though he identifies as a balanced dog trainer, he is pretty transparent, and will call things a spade a spade. He's done this, the Ivan Belabanov situation where I got a copyright strike. I was on there, mentioned that to David on the show, and he openly said, "Yeah, that's ridiculous." I mean, so he's, I do appreciate his transparency, certainly at that way. He's the type of guy that you can have a discussion with, and so I appreciate that. So, but here I want to go through. I'm going to play some of this again, just as a foundation for discussion. This isn't meant to be an attack on David at all. Just want to use, like I said, we use certain videos as a kind of framework to kind of, for me to kind of, go through some of these discussions again from my perspective. Okay, from a perspective of I talk about connecting some dots here. Why are these things happening? It's getting really bad. The dog training world is really getting bad. So let's play some of this. I'm going to keep these within 20 minutes or so. I'll be doing a couple parts here at least on this video, and hopefully again, people watching can walk away with something new.
On the horizon.
Oh, jeez.
Implying, I think, that we were going to do another drama episode. And my initial response to them was just like, yo, like, I'm so annoyed with everybody involved with the drama right now.
Oh, jeez.
That, like, it's not even like the last couple times it's been like, this person against this person. And I kind of put myself in a position where I was, like, picking a side, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm like, everybody's being a fucking idiot right now.
Oh, really?
Right? And, like, I'm going to try to kind of talk about it a little bit today without getting insane with it. Because, like, I'm just, like, truthfully, I'm just kind of fried with the dog world right now.
So fried with the dog world, I can completely understand that. Okay, understand the dog training world is a complete train wreck. You get all this divisiveness. You see all this back and forth. It's just, and I talk about this. But I get in this, I get in this from the perspective, and people can take it whatever they want. With understanding. Once you understand what the real issue is here, it releases you. Okay, it does. It releases you from um, living in that world that way, engaging that way. This is why I talk about. I have no interest in debating some of these trainers that come off a certain way. I don't. I mean, it's not like they take it as me because I don't want to debate them or have a conversation. It's like somehow that gives them a win. It has nothing to do with it. Just that I just have no use. I mean, I'm content and very confident, okay, in what this system of training represents. And, that isn't a marketing ploy. The system of training answers the questions, regardless of how divisive the dog training world is. I understand how challenging it is for people to accept what I'm saying about training, but that's not my problem. But at the same time, my response to the dog training community in terms of what's going on is different. I don't have to engage. I'm here to help people answer questions, and I understand the challenges, but it is what it is. So, but to live in that world that way, because I understand these trainers, what they're doing is it's just about they've already made their choices. This is just about their brand. Okay, it's just about I've talked about this. Go over to my Rumble channel. I just posted some videos by way of Ivan just put out a recent video on his Facebook, and so I put up videos over there on Ivan because of the copyright strike situation involving him, which is that shows you right there. Say, well, there's something wrong. You can't even have a conversation or talk through it. Some trainers pretend to say, oh, well, we're open for discussion or whatever. Well, when you engage in copyright strike based on a video under fair usage and information specific, there's something wrong. Okay, I mean, you should be able to talk through it. especially you watch my videos, you don't see me getting cute with these trainers or getting personal or going launching into cheap shots and personal attacks because my goal is to focus on the information, okay, specific to what the problem is. That's it.
I'm a little fried with it.
Damn.
You know,
going on,
and
dude?
I think I'm hitting a point right now where like I need like a month or two where I just like fuck everything with like the internet, right? I
Yeah.
just kind of like do my thing and like stay in my cocoon for like a month or two to like recharge and like let everybody fucking bicker and battle it out and just like focus on like building a really great dog training business like we've been doing for the last 11 years or so.
Okay.
So here's what we're gonna do before we get into all that. I got a
Yeah.
couple of
And like I said, I mean, his perspective, and when I say about building anything, okay, if you're building it off of this idea, then it's a problem. I just leave it at that. I mean, it just is. I mean, you know, it's the whole thing about what's happening here with all these trainers.
things that I want to talk about
Sure.
from just a regular dog training standpoint. So we got a comment on one of our podcast episodes that was kind of like a question, and I want to kind of talk about it a little bit here. So let's start by reading this. We got a question from Kay Peckus a couple days ago. So I'll read it here. Question for you: when will be the next live Q&A? Question is, I find myself in a bit of a human social dilemma. All of my friends and family have dogs. We like to go camping, hiking, mountain biking, and generally doing outdoor activities. Trying to figure out the best way to include my dog with some of these things. She's a supervised social dog and has some great relationships with a couple of these dogs. There are a few of them that have their own issues. I have lots of things in place to make my dog successful: a muzzle, e-collar training, regular training. Not a lot of them have great tools. Should I not even mess with trying to socialize with these dogs? It's always a conversation of whose dog is going to go. Maybe I'm getting too much in the weeds here, but she is so fulfilled when we are camping and hiking, so I want to bring her more. Curious what your thoughts are. So I like this question because I kind of feel like it goes a little bit hand in hand with some of the general dog drama going on, if you will.
Okay.
We are in a bit of we are continuing to move further and further in this direction where we have like polar opposite extremes of how to handle a lot of things that are being preached from people with large followings, obviously. And I think it's getting really confusing for people because like a lot of things historically we've been preaching in the dog world of what you should or shouldn't do or whatever. They're being challenged, right? And
Right.
that's good, right? Like anytime we're in a position where we're challenging norms, I think we could find new ground to tread on, and we could kind of achieve new things and break the limits of like what we thought was possible with dog training. But I do think that that inevitably will result in us going too far with certain things.
Yeah.
So one thing that's being preached a lot is like a lot of the things we typically would have done to manage our dogs, like not allowing on leash greetings and being careful what dogs we're socializing our dog with and where we're taking them and like all of this. There's like a large group of people right now that are basically pushing that like you actually should now be doing all of those things, right? Like you should be like taking away every restriction of what we used to do with our dogs and kind of opening things up to that, right? I think we need to find a happy medium with stuff like this.
Right.
When I hear that you have a dog that clearly you've invested a lot into your training, and clearly you have a lot of tools at your disposal, and it sounds like you know your dog very well and know what they need and what they don't need.
See, and stop here. So he's got a question about, what to do with multiple dogs. And this is where, again, talk about, okay, this is all the confusion dog training world. Like, what do you do? And this is where this whole thing, I talk about the beginning, okay, setting things in motion the right way. Is number one is you have to see things from a perspective of dealing with a relationship problem with your dogs or, one dog or multiple dogs. Then structure. He's talking about structure here, about crates and stuff. Listen, structure is in how you want to see structure. Okay, structure is necessary, to, achieve a control, right? While the method itself, again, this is where we get into this problem here with what's popular out there. The method itself is the right method is employed to create the change part. So it's structure combined with change as a part of a process. Okay, within the framework of a relationship problem, and as the process itself specific to that point in the relationship where you're experiencing a relationship problem. So the process itself is not, forever. Okay. And always equate this and always compare this. I talk about the parenting example, a relationship problem between a parent and a child. It's no different. Structure. What's going to happen? Well, it corresponds to also the level of the relationship problem itself. How bad, is the child acting out? What defines that structure? How rigid does that structure need to be to get things under control? Your child can't do certain things, doesn't have access to certain things, going over to their friend's house, doing certain things, and this is where we get into the issue about free will. There's so much confusion here when we talk about free will and choices. It's one of the big discussions. I did a video on, Dylan Jones, go watch that video, because that aligns with this whole thing about this idea that trains a learning-based exercise, right? Motivating responses that way, giving the dog a choice within the framework of response. Well, think of the same thing with, the selfish child. Like, what's the context of free will and choices once a relationship problem is underway? Once that child's become selfish, what does that represent in terms of your parental role? See, it's just common sense here. It's like people can't get their heads around this, and then it's because they're so caught up in this ideology, this idea that doesn't even align properly. It doesn't even make sense in so many levels, even in terms of what defines, a training itself. Once you consider that you're dealing with a relationship problem, that should immediately key up on the fact that it's an intervention. At the social level, your role is paramount. And see, that's the thing about structure. You start to add, you put all these pieces together. But here you hear David talking about, well, things are changed. This is morphing over this way, and then what do you think? All the shifting sands it's always happening. All these things. It's like the flavor of the month. Like they have different. Well, because of the confusion from just defining what a process even represents. The fact that all these traits, including David, are approaching a relationship problem as a learning-based exercise, that opens the door up to the confusion. I draw the line in the sand. As soon as I say it's not a learning-based exercise, well, that immediately that gets like all these trainers triggered and upset. Well, it shouldn't, especially if you don't let your emotions just say, okay, like let's talk through it. Let's talk through it in the terms of what a dog needs. And that it's a temporary process. Let's reconcile the reactions and responses to the relationship properly so you don't get all triggered off. This whole thing with, all the controversy over, appearances. And see, that's all the problems. So you always have to take this back to the right, what defines training.
And what satisfies them. I think we could strike a balance here and say, how do we integrate your dog into these social events? Well, the first question I always ask everybody is when we're socializing our dog with family members' dogs or things like that. Like what really, let's be really, really honest about, like you said, your dog is a supervised social dog. So I know what my definition of super.
See, and here's the problem. So there's no, when I talk about socialization, like people just want the picture, right? Like, how do I get my dog to get along with, how do I just incorporate my dog with other dogs? Again, there's a method. Okay. There's a sequence. If you watch my videos as to how I'm doing that in terms of dogs that are reactive to other dogs, socialization, the structure comes online. It's very intentional. You see me in my training area, how I have 2 dogs on leashes. Okay. The method is online. You see the 1-step method. You'll see how I'm dialed in, how I'm creating focus on the human, on the handler, on the owner, as the dogs get closer and closer and closer, right? But with influence and control, reconcile. That's not what he's talking about here. So I understand all the confusion. Like, well, how do I do this? So this whole jumping over, it's like they jump right over the way to get there properly. It's just, and see, that's the problem because it's about the tools, right? Or it's about being reactive because then they jump over bringing those core ingredients together properly that builds the actual bridge. Okay. And so the problem is because they jump over it, then they're just like on watch, kind of like, oh, the dogs are together. And then suddenly something bad happens, or they just leave the muzzles on the dogs, right? And no change is happening, or something bad happens, and then they're too late because they're reactive. They're not dialed in. See, they're not dialed into the relationship properly. They're not building the bridges the way I talk about the right way. It's all right there. If you go watch my videos, I put it all out there how to do it. Okay. But see, this is when you talk about balanced dog training, it's appearance focused. They're not connecting dots the way I talk about it at all. So I'm going to stop this part here. This is part one. As we go through, like I said, this is my first time like watching it. So again, this question comes up. But again, I encourage you go check out my YouTube channel. I have you'll see lots of content there showcasing, okay, how to build bridges. The method that creates change all this confusion. Right here is an example that's saying, well, some trainers things are changing this way, things are changing, but it's all this wishy-washy because it's walking on sand. It's based on this idea that doesn't align properly. It's based on appearances. It's inherently flawed. I talk about it. So you wonder why things, keep changing. But if you go watch my videos from like years ago, you'll hear me and see me doing the exact same thing from the very beginning because it's about asking the right questions at the very start. Thanks for watching.